welcome to the first segment of Real Talk Tuesday. I am Brittany Stevenson, and I will be your facilitator for tonight's conversation. With me, I have some dynamic people. I have Reverend Brandon Gale, Reverend Kenneth Watson, Sister Brianna Branch, and Miss Miosha Crippen. Hey, y'all. How y'all doing?
Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited tonight because tonight's topic is the Black experience. We all felt like because it's Black History Month that it would be appropriate to talk about the Black experience. So guys, when you hear the Black experience, what or who comes to mind? Let's start with Brianna.
Okay, so when I hear the Black experience, or I think Black excellence, what comes to mind for me is finding ways to progress ourselves or our community in a world that doesn't always see us as top tier or may see us as less than. So the person I first thought of was Jay-Z, who is a rapper and entrepreneur. He owns his own entertainment company. He's won several music awards, and he's also the founder of the Sean Carter Foundation, which comes to play a role to improve opportunities for at-risk youths in his community. And more recently, he was noted for providing donations for protesters who were incarcerated at the Black Lives Matter protests.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about Jay-Z exemplifies the Black experience or Black excellence for you?
So like I said earlier, to me, Black excellence is wanting to progress yourself or your community. And he's done that from his growing up in his neighborhood to becoming this big household name. And he didn't just keep it all for himself. He came back and he turned around and he's like, I'm going to help everybody thrive. And that's important to me.
That's definitely important. Thank you. Reverend Gale?
Yes.
But
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, when I think about Black excellence, what I think about is Black inventors. A lot of times I think that a lot of things that have been invented, we think are automatically invented by white people or other minorities, but they're actually been invented by Black people. And one of the ladies that came to mind was Marie Van Brittan Brown. Marie Van Brittan Brown. She was a creator of the first home security system. And this was back in the 1960s. And what was happening was she was coming home, and she was in a high crime area. And so she got the idea to create, kind of rig up something to mobilize and to take pictures and send it to her television. And while she was at work, because she lived in a high crime area. So you think about that in the 1960s, this is something that we're using today in a modern form, but she took time and thought about that and created that, make sure nobody wasn't stealing her stuff. So
right.
I think about that, and then also I think about Black excellence. I think about the Black family, and one of the creators, I didn't even realize this until I did the study, that the creator of Phase 10, that game that a lot of families like to play around the table, was created by a Black man. In the early 80s, in 1982, a Black man by the name of Ken Johnson created Phase 10. And at this point, right now he received royalties from it, and I believe another company has it now. But in 1987, he licensed it and manufactured it and and had the rights for distribution. And but right now it's being sold in 30 countries, and also it's the second best-selling game in the world, card game in the world, and that came from the hands of a Black man. So when I think of Black excellence, that's what I think about.
Awesome. I didn't know that.
That's
Neither.
it.
I did not know that. I think I had heard about the security system, but I definitely didn't know that about the game. That'll be something we all have to play together when COVID's over and we can come together.
Right. Exactly.
Miss
Exactly.
Miss
Agree.
Neosha. What
Hello. So, when I think of the Black experience or Black excellence, one of the main trailblazers that came to mind, of course, was the Cicely Tyson, the late Cicely Tyson. And, I thought about her and I was like, she's done so much for us, as Black people. And, she was born a long time ago, what it seems like, back in 1924, and she just recently passed away last month. And, she's done so much for Black people. She's won so many different awards. She's actually won the highest award that you can get as a civilian, and that was actually given to her by President Obama in 2015. So, that was the Presidential Medal of Freedom. So, that was such a big experience. And I love Cicely because I felt like every time I saw her, she was always so humble.
Yes.
Like when you see her, receive awards, she's like so humble, like she never would have thought she would have received anything. And I just felt like we needed to pay some kind of tribute to her because she's just done so much, even up until last year when she was still in movies, like starring in movies, and she's well in her 90s, and I just aspire, I aspire to just be as great as her. I mean, I'm no actress or anything, but she paved the way,
Yes.
She was a role model for us. And I hope that little Black girls will be able to be like, you know what, if she can do it, I know I can do it too.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not gonna go there because you did a good job. Reverend Watson, what you got for us?
Okay, so I switched up a little bit. You guys have talked about some very influential figures or people within our community. So I kind of talked about an event that took place. What's interesting about it is to be honest, I actually just found out about it within this past year.
Mm-hmm.
In the event, it's called the Black Wall Street Massacre. Again, the Black Wall Street Massacre. And what's interesting is a lot of our history has kind of been whitewashed.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it's not been brought to the light, and a lot of us are unaware of a lot of events that took place. So just bear with me for 1 second. Sometimes I have a tendency to be a little long-winded.
We know.
I'm gonna try to explain this as quickly and as thoroughly as possible, because again, I think it's very important. Because if you were like me, only a year ago, I wasn't even aware that it actually took place. So here we have. So just to set the setting, so back in 1921, so approximately about 100 years ago, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in a neighborhood by the name of Greenwood, there existed one of the largest and wealthiest Black communities in the United States. At the time, Booker T. Washington labeled this community the Negro Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
Now, historians kind of label it as Black Wall Street because it was an affluent African-American community that had Black-owned businesses lined up on the street one after another. So you think about it, in this town of Tulsa, Oklahoma, resided this neighborhood where there was over 600 Black-owned businesses, 30 grocery stores, 21 restaurants, movie theaters, a hospital, a bank, schools, law offices. They had their own libraries. They even had their own bus system. And the list goes on, but it was just ownership. Everything that they could need existed right within that community, and it was Black owned. They didn't have to even leave their community. Their resources stayed and circulated within their own community. And Sister Brittany, you'll like this. It was a community built for Black people by Black people. But in the span of 2 days, it was all destroyed back in 1921. It's been called perhaps the single worst incident of racial violence in American history. But surprisingly, it's a story that you don't find in most of our history books.
Definitely not.
It's a story, quite frankly, that's kind of been covered up for far too long. So you may be asking yourself, well, what exactly happened? How did this community become destroyed in a span of 2 days? And it's believed that it all started because of an encounter in an elevator building back in 1921 on May 30th between a 19-year-old Black man by the name of Derek Rowland, who was a shoe shiner. He had an encounter with a 17-year-old elevator operator named Sarah Page, who happened to be white. And it's alleged by someone that they heard what sounded like a woman scream, and then they saw a young man rushing from the building. And the alleged witness then went to the elevator. He found Page there, and he said that she was distraught. And because of what he said, he alerted the authorities, and they found Derek Rowland, and he was arrested. What's interesting is Sarah Page told the police that Rowland only grabbed her arm and he didn't do anything else. In fact, she didn't even want to press charges. But looking back on the event, the Oklahoma Historical Society found that the most common explanation as to what happened in the elevator was that Rowland probably only stepped on her foot as he entered the elevator, causing her to scream. However, a white Tulsa newspaper printed a story falsely accusing Rowland of assault, causing a white mob to come to the jail where Rowland was so that they could lynch him. And knowing this, a group of Black men, about 75 of them from the community, came to the jail to intercede on Rowland's behalf to keep this white mob from lynching him. And as you can imagine, there was a standoff, but tensions grew very quickly. And eventually it led to this angry large white mob of heavily armed people setting their sights on Black Wall Street. And over a span of 2 days, these white individuals, this angry white mob, murdered the residents, they looted, they stole from them, and they burned down Black Wall Street. It was a massacre. From May 31st to June 1st of 1921, Black Wall Street was going up in flames. And to make it even crazier, airplanes were circling above them, dropping explosives down on their property, which made Tulsa, Oklahoma, the first U.S. city to ever be bombed by air. When all was said and done, 1,200 Black homes were destroyed, Black-owned businesses were bombed, Black churches were burned, 35 blocks of Black excellence was burned to the ground. The hospital that they had was burned to the ground. And then most of the white hospitals in the area refused to take any of the Black wounded. In 2 days, approximately 300 people were murdered, hundreds more injured, thousands left homeless. And you might be asking the question, well, where was the police?
Right.
Well, the police were there, they saw it, but they joined in and helped the mob do all of this.
Jealous.
In present day dollars, approximately $20 million of Black-owned property was destroyed in 2 days. And to continue to make matters worse, these Black people, thousands of Black people that were left homeless and their property was destroyed, they submitted claims to their insurance companies, but none of the claims were ever paid. And to this day, No one even really knows what happened to most of the bodies of the victims. No justice has ever been served as a criminal cover-up took place, because as of today, still not one person has ever been arrested, and not one person has ever been charged for anything that happened over that 2-day period. That's the Black Wall Street Massacre that a lot of people aren't aware of. They kind of try to erase it from our history, but it's something that actually took place almost 100 years ago. Very tragic and sad story.
Very tragic, sad, and and you say 100 years ago, but when you think about it, we know people that were alive, people that, were alive during that time, whether if they were, they might have been young, but we know them. And to think, and it's crazy because some of the stuff that we deal with today, we see today, it's reminiscent of the picture you just painted. And I thank you for your segment, because I had never really, that's not something we're taught in school. I heard it mentioned the Black Wall Street Massacre, but I had never heard about it in school at all, which is crazy. Thank you. Last but not least, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna lighten the mood a little bit more, because that was really that was heavy. It was good, but it was heavy. When I think of Black excellence as an alum and as someone who works at an HBCU, I think of HBCUs when I think of Black excellence. From the Fried Chicken Wednesdays to Soul Food Thursdays to homecomings, spring on the yard, and just being surrounded by students of color excelling and just, in science and math and physics and all these things. HBCUs epitomize the Black experience as far as I'm concerned. But, for those who don't know the acronym HBCU, what is an HBCU? An HBCU is a historically Black college and university. In order for a school to classify as an HBCU, it had to have been established before the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Cheyney University of Pennsylvania was the first HBCU, and it was established in February 25th of 1837. So when you think February, Black History Month, we didn't have Black History Month then, but, it's kind of, whatever. And to this day, there are 107 HBCUs in the United States. So, whoop, whoop. HBCUs were created to educate, Black Americans, because at a time, you, me, none of us on this screen, we couldn't go to college. Most colleges barred Black people, Black students. So HBCUs were established to, provide education of higher learning to people of color. And so I want to shout out Richard Humphreys, because he was the establisher of Cheyney University of Pennsylvania. So without him, we might not have HBCUs. There might not be, UMES. And as a proud alum,
hey,
and someone who works there, I'm shout out to UMES Hawk Pride. Catch it. So yes, I want to thank each and every one of you for your studies of this Black excellence, and even you, Reverend Watson, your story it exemplifies Black excellence in a different way, because when you hear of the the devastation, the lives lost, the millions, billions of dollars, and then the total disregard of Black life, you still have to think of the resilience of our people, right? You think of the ability to, we fall down, we get kicked down, but guess what? We rise, we get back up, and we keep thriving. I mean, you think you listen to Reverend Gale talk about his adventure, and you listen to Brianna talk about Jay-Z, and you listen to Miosha talk about Cicely Tyson, and you listen to us, me talk about HBCUs. Black people are resilient. And that is one thing that I feel as though we all need to take away from this conversation, if nothing else, the resilience of our people. But before we end, I have a question for each of you. I want to pose the question just to open up open up dialogue. So we talked about, the brilliance and excellence of Black people. But there is a downside to the Black experience. And Reverend Watson talked about it a little bit, but something that we face today. I'm going to set the scene, and I want you guys to jump in. So last week, I was coming from the bank, and I went to the bank to get some cash. I know you're like, what you need cash for? Because nobody has cash. Everybody got cash yet. I needed to pay somebody, and I didn't want to use my card. So I went to the bank to get cash. You know, I'm driving, and this time I'm not driving dirty. I'm not speeding. You know, I got my seatbelt on, so I'm proud of that. And a cop got behind me. You know, I looked in my rear view mirror, and a cop got behind me, and I instantly became scared. And I don't know why. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I know my license and registration are straight. I wasn't speeding for a change. I had my seatbelt on, but I was fearful. And that, to me, is also part of the Black experience, being fearful of something as simple as a cop riding behind me. I don't know. I know that some of our viewers, you know, you may not be old enough to drive, but you have family members and friends, and you know, that do drive. Has anyone had a similar experience or experience where you were scared being Black in America?
Well, I was when you were talking, I was thinking about just a few months ago, and actually, Reverend Watson, I was on the phone with Reverend Watson when I was when this happened. But you know, I traveled from the shore, Eastern Shore, back and forth a lot. And it just happened to be, you know, me and my wife Amherst, and I got stopped. I was on the way outside of Easton, and I had gotten stopped. And I should have, because I was doing about 70. I think I was doing like I think over 70 miles an hour. You know,
You can't be Black and break roll.
It was late at night, so the man stopping me. I wasn't necessarily fearful of him stopping because I was like, I said, Amber, keep your hands where they can see them. Put my hands on the wheel. You know what I'm saying? Like, nowadays, you have to be conscious. Like, when you do get stopped, you know, you got to make sure your hands are seen, you know, and view at all times. And I was telling my wife the same thing. And this officer, he stopped me, and he just started badgering me. Like, he was like, you're a speeder, and I can look at you and tell you're a speeder and all this. So immediately, I'm just wanting to be like, yo, who are you talking to? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you just immediately want to go there with that person, but, you know, you just don't, you can tell he was a little bit on edge. And so that's what made me fearful, not the fact that he stopped me, because I knew I was doing everything right. It's just the fact that how he was coming off towards me, because I feel like if I had given him any reason to arrest me or to pull me out that car or to pull my wife out the car and search the car, I feel like he would have done it or possibly shot me because he was on edge. You could tell he was on edge, and when we were talking about it, you know, me and Red Watson, he was like, you know, something is wrong with that dude. You know, you could tell something was wrong with him. So I think that's what made me more so fearful. Like, when you do get stopped, it's like you don't know what's going through that officer's mind. Like, what did he just leave, or her? What did she just leave? You know, that where she might be on edge or whatnot. So that was my experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel it's like you said, what you said, what stuck out to me about that is when you said keep your hands on the wheel and don't make any sudden movements and things like that. Mm-hmm. The fact that it is 2021 and that's where your mind goes. Like, I can't just sit in my car. You know, I was speeding, so okay, yeah, I was speeding. But give me my ticket. You know, if I got to get a point, let me get my point, and then let me go on. But something as simple as a traffic stop could result in your life being taken. Right. And that is a real fear of, you know, a lot of Black people. And like I said, I wasn't even stopped. I wasn't even doing nothing wrong. You were speeding. I wasn't. And was still so scared, like devastatingly scared. Anybody else have a similar experience or something, a situation where you were afraid to be, you know, you were in a situation where you were afraid, like as far as a Black person in America? Anybody?
I mean, I can certainly speak to it as Reverend Gail was speaking from the perspective of a Black man living in America, which is a racist society. So, I mean, every time I'm in my car driving, and I even see a cop ride by, or if a cop happens to be in my rearview mirror and is behind my car, and you know, sometimes they have a tendency to follow you. I immediately become, on edge, and begin to worry, especially in light of everything that we've had to experience
Mhm.
within this country. So I mean, yeah, I mean that unfortunately that's a reality. It's a little disheartening, but at this point I'm past that. For us as African Americans that have to have conversations with our kids, especially our young sons,
I was going
uh,
to mention
in,
that.
in reference to when you have interactions with a police officer, how you should have to handle yourself, because the main objective is to get home safe. And it's a conversation that our counterparts don't have to have with their kids. So that has a tendency to sometimes make me upset and angry, but it's reality, and you have to have those open and honest conversations with your children, with our youth, so that they aren't blindsided with the realities of racial discrimination that exists within our world today. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's important to embrace who you are, not be ashamed of who you are. As you stated before, Brittany, we are a resilient people. So that's the constant message that I have for my son.
So we talked about okay. I'm sorry. Thank you, Reverend Watson. I got sidetracked. We talked about a situation where you were scared. Has there been a situation? And I'm gonna switch to the ladies first to see what they got to say, because I know. Has there been a situation as a Black person that you felt the need to tone down your Blackness to, because you were at work, you were at school, you were in a grocery store? And Brianna, I want to start with you because I know that you go to a PWI. We let you get away because we let you get away.
Hold on,
But
what's Peter? What's that?
predominantly white institution.
Oh, me too, fellow
We
Seagull.
both went there too.
See, bye. So I want to, Brianna, is there I'm Hulk pride all the way. I just can't. I couldn't. But is there a time, you're a senior now, congratulations. You're, senior, get ready to graduate. But in your 4 years of 4 years being there, well, 3.5, almost 4, has there been a time where you felt the need to tone it down, to kind of, I guess, code switch a little because you're Black and you're surrounded by predominantly white?
Let's see. That's actually a great question. I'm a part of a group, and last night we were just talking about code switching and how it occurs in different situations. And being a member of the science department at my college, there's not always a lot of Black kids in my class. It's normally just 1 or 2 of us per classroom. So in the beginning, I would find that I didn't always feel entirely comfortable in my classroom. I kind of wanted to stay quiet and keep to myself. Like, my teacher could see I was smart when I turned in all my work, but contributing to conversations or making sure I stood out, that wasn't a main concern of mine, because I just kind of wanted to fly under the radar. I felt like that, though, as I became more comfortable with myself and who I was, that changed for me.
Yes.
I'm extra, I'm here, I'm me, I'm going to be there, you're going to see me. And so I feel like yes, ma'am. I feel like I've gotten a lot better about that over time. And another instance would be when things are happening on campus and you're the only Black person in a class, they kind of look to you to see how they should feel. And in those instances, well, I guess, I don't know, it's not the reaction that you would expect in those instances. I would feel like I needed to tone down my Blackness because I didn't want to make it seem like I was speaking for every single Black person in the world. So in those situations, I'd say my little small piece, and I'd be like, okay, but that's just me. And then kind of shrink back because I didn't want to have to be the spokesperson for every Black person who has ever walked the earth. But,
Absolutely. Miosha, you work for SSA, and it's a I don't want to say predominantly white, because I know there's a lot of Black people that work there, but I know because it's federal, there are are there certain times where you feel like I can't be Miosha, you know. I gotta be Miosha. I mean, you know.
So I'm still the youngest person in my office. So I've been there for 15 years. And I started at the bottom. Now I'm here, right?
Yes.
I'm a technical expert now. So now I train people. And a lot of the people that I train are significantly older than me. And then some of them are also not the same ethnicity as me. And I'm not going to say I had to tone it down, but, you know, sometimes people don't always know how to take a confident and powerful Black person, and they may seem that it's a threat, especially from a woman. You know, they may be threatened, or they may feel like they're being bullied, or whatever the situation is, because you're so confident and so passionate about what you do. You know, people don't always know how to take you, but I had to learn that it's not my fault that they don't know how to take me. You know what I'm saying? That's not my fault. My job is to know what I need to do, right?
Right.
And to teach you what you need to learn, right?
Yes.
So it's definitely been a growth process, but I've just always been in a place where I've been the youngest person, or I've been, you know, Black, I've been a female, and I'm completely comfortable with myself. And I thank God for that, because I've been in some uncomfortable situations. And if you're not comfortable with yourself, then that could take you to a place that you don't want to be.
Absolutely.
So I just thank God for making me who He did.
Yes. And to wrap it up a little bit, you know, to piggyback off of that situation, I'm from the shore. I'm from Dew Island. Nobody knows what Dew Island is. It's little country down the road down there. And I remember I was the only Black girl, and then it was 4 other Black boys. And so there were times where, you know, I got a perm because I wanted my hair straight like the white girls. I hated the fact that I was so dark, you know, and just anything, you know, those things. And then, you know, I'm a little bit smart. So I was in, you know, the advanced classes. And so the people I was around didn't look like me. That's the reason why I talked about HBCUs, because when I got on UMES campus and you see these people that look like you, and they are gorgeous, and they embrace their features, and they are articulate, and they're smart, and they're just they pop flavor and they drip sauce just all over the place. I mean, it's a form of empowerment. You know, and I think that was my experience. You know, not always, you know, Miosha's talk about it, not always being comfortable in the Black skin, but I thank God, you know, for growth. And I thank God, you know, that I'm Black. I wouldn't want to be anything else, you know. I thank God for this beautiful brown skin that I am in. And, you know, just like the Bible says in Psalms 139 and 14, it says, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yes.
Your works are wonderful, and I know them full well. And when God made each and every one of us, yes, He made us wonderful. So, you know, we're done here. I thank each and every one of you for your topics. I thank you for your willingness to, you know, shed knowledge, drop knowledge on each and every one of you. Thank each and every one of you out there for tuning in. Real Talk Tuesday is something that we are, you know, it's a project that we've prayed over and we love, and we're looking forward to sharing more knowledge with you. We're coming back next month, third Tuesday, of the month, with another topic. But until then, peace out, y'all.
Thanks for joining.